There is a clip of Seth Rogen that is 2 or 3 years old at this point, but it's gone viral in recent days because it's really captured the zeitgeist. And it's this clip of Joe Rogan, I think he was on the Howard Stern show, bragging about how wonderful his life is because he does not have children. Take it away.
We have so much fun. Like, I don't know anyone who gets as much happiness out of their kids as we get out of our non-kids. Like, we're psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday morning, smoking weed, like watching movies naked, just being like, if we had kids, we could not be doing this. Like, this is, there is no one whose child is giving them as much joy as we are right now getting because we do not have a kid.
Okay, before I get into all the dumb things he just said, I owe an apology to Joe Rogan. I can't believe, because I don't think about Seth Rogen that much, and Joe Rogan is a much more important cultural figure. So I accidentally said Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan and Seth Rogen are very different people. They both apparently love marijuana, so I guess they do have that in common. But otherwise, Joe is basically a very sensible guy. Seth Rogen, not very sensible at all. And what he said here is certainly not sensible. We have so much fun. I don't know anyone who gets as much happiness out of their kids as we get out of our non-kids. Like, we're effing psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday mornings, smoking weed, watching movies naked. If we had kids, we could not be effing doing this. I agree that you should probably not puff the devil's lettuce when you have kids. I know people who do it and who have done it, and it can be done, I suppose, probably not advisable. But you can watch movies naked, even if you procreate. You don't want to do it probably when they're awake. Probably wait until they go to bed or something like. But you can. It's okay. You can, even if you have children. You can go into your bedroom or into the shower. You can undress. You can still do that. It's not that you have to wear a uniform all the time. You can watch movies. So you can watch movies sometimes with your children, or if you want to watch an R-rated movie, you can watch that once your children go to bed or take a nap. You can do that. And I know that potheads who are totally not addicted in any way, it's not addictive at all, and it becomes their whole personality, but they're not addicted. I know it's difficult to believe, but I've puffed the devil's lettuce once or twice. I'm not proud of it, but every now and again, back in my wayward youth. And there are better things. Kids actually are better than that sticky, icky, kush. All right? I promise you. The kids are better. So why does he really believe this, or is he just fooling himself? In the case of Seth Rogen, look, some people just can't have kids. It's terribly sad. It's a very difficult thing. Sometimes people then adopt, or sometimes people just get more involved with their godchildren or their community or whatever. Some people are called to religious life. So having kids is not for everybody. But to choose a bong over a child speaks to either a profound degree of denial or just an amazing immaturity and ignorance. But I kind of get it, because you see it, especially with millennials and with even Zoomers. There is this reluctance today to have kids. And the reason is people don't feel that they're mature enough to have kids. And in many cases, they're right about that. So they need to get mature, but they don't want to do that. This is why this term adulting has become popular, because people are just very afraid of growing up. And maybe it's because they weren't educated to grow up. Maybe it's because our public education system failed, and because our parents were too soft, and because our country's too decadent. I don't know. I mean, you can come up with a million excuses, but just figure it out, guys, because it's not whatever propaganda we were fed as children, that, the children are the future. Well, the future's now. Actually, the children, they understand. From the voice of babes, we learn the wonders of the world. No, actually, kids are uneducated by definition. And I guess what we were told, the culture that we grew up in, seemed to be that this is as good as it gets. Don't grow up too fast. This is as good as it gets. Enjoy, take your time. Don't worry about working too hard. You'll get inflated grades anyway. Don't go to college, party for 4 years. It doesn't even matter if you work that hard in college. Just enjoy it. This is as good as it gets. And then life just gets harder and worse and worse. And life does get a little bit harder in the sense that you have more responsibilities, fewer excuses. But life gets better. It gets better, actually. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine? That's one of my favorite lines from the American Songbook. It was my quote, my yearbook quote, both in high school and college. I love that line. And it's been my experience. It's true. It does get better. But you have to be able to kill the pleasures that you've got now. C.S. Lewis made this point, I forget in which book, when he said, when you're a little kid, you can't imagine there's anything as good as chocolate. And then if you hear about something called sex, you say, oh, there's no way sex is better than unless sex must involve chocolate. If sex is, and you say, well, no, it's not supposed to at least. But you can't. When you're a kid, you just can't imagine that. Then you find out, oh, sex actually is better than chocolate. But that's where most people stop. They say, oh, sex or whatever, just pleasure or smoking pot or whatever. That's as good as it gets. There is something better, but in order to discover that, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to risk the childish pleasures that you have now and put away the things of the child when you become a man. Otherwise, you end up as an overgrown child smoking pot, naked in bed, watching movies alone. Diet Coke might be very bad for your health. There's a new study out. A shocking study. If you're driving, pull over. If you're standing up, sit down. Diet drinks with the artificial sweeteners apparently greatly increase your risk of an irregular heartbeat. Drinking 2 liters or more per liters. I don't know how I feel about it. That's, when I drank Diet Coke, I would drink it by the gallon. But okay, 2 liters, that's a 2-liter bottle, or more per week of artificially sweetened beverages, the equivalent of a medium-sized fast food diet soda a day, raised the risk of an irregular heartbeat called atrial fibrillation by 20% when compared to people who drank none, a new study found. Drinking a similar number of added sugar beverages, so, regular soda or, other kind of drinks like that, raised the risk of the condition by 10%, so not quite as much as the diet sodas. And drinking 4 ounces of pure, unsweetened juice, orange juice, vegetable juice, whatever, was associated with an 8% lower risk of atrial fibrillation, according to this study. Why do I even mention it? I remember when I was a kid, truly, I grew up on diet beverages. I drank Diet Peach Snapple. That was basically my blood type. If we ran out of Diet Peach Snapple, I drank Diet Raspberry Snapple. If we ran out of Diet Raspberry Snapple, I drank Diet Coke. And worst case, I drank Diet Pepsi. It was just diet all the way down. And it was the 90s. That's what everyone did. And I actually do remember I had I had a little bit of an irregular heartbeat for a little while. And so I'm not surprised at all, just anecdotally. But we should not be surprised today to read these things, because outside the realm of soda or drugs or whatever you put into your body, conservatives ought to know nothing in life is free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as a free calorie. There's no such thing as a free soda. Everything has a cost. And I know President Covfefe loves the Diet Cokes, and the man's apparently just absolutely unbreakable and indestructible. But for everyone else, it's an important political lesson, regardless of what you drink at lunchtime. Everything has a cost. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And in this case, it's amazing. We're finding out 30, 40, 50 years later that just pumping your body full of artificial chemicals that are intended to mimic sugar so that you don't become a little too chubby for having so many Coca-Colas, that actually might have a deleterious effect on your health. Shocking. That was a great clip, huh? Now, hold up. Ring that bell. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.